Okay, make sure you know the distinction between sex and gender. Sex refers to biology, our physical, physiological characteristics, our genitalia. And some people's genitalia are not so clear cut, like intersex. But sex is not socially constructed. Gender is socially constructed, like the clitoris, like men playing women's role in operas in ancient societies. And you can be born of a given sex but identify as another gender. Okay, this is another example where gender is socially constructed. Some cultures call it berdache. It means cross-dresser. So they give a name. Different cultures, people from different countries, they have their own terminologies for ladyboys or cross-dresser. Ladyboys are just men wearing women's clothes, we know that. Cross-dresser can go both ways. Women who like to wear men's clothes or vice versa. Can you see that? And some called it berdache. It means cross-dresser in some cultures. And it happens among Native Americans and people from the Samoa. They call, I don't know, Fafin. I cannot pronounce this. It means the third gender. The way of a woman. It implies cross-dresser or ladyboy. You see, gender is socially constructed. Can you see that? Samoans have a different name for ladyboys, but not cross-dresser. They called it Fufafin. I cannot pronounce that, sorry. And some cultures called it Berdache. And some ladyboys are homosexuals or intersex. Some are just men. They have no problems with their chromosomes or phenotypes. They are just men. They like to wear women's clothes. It varies. Some are gay, some are not. Some are intersex, like the clitoris in Thailand. Question? You have a presentation for this week, so make sure you don't get confused between the two. Okay? Okay. What is sexual orientation? You can read the definition on your own. It's just physical, mental, emotional, sexual attraction to a particular sex. Examples of sexual orientation includes heterosexuality, homosexuality, bisexuality, and asexuality. Who has taken a course in women's studies or sexuality and gender? In any department. Doesn't have to be the social department. Who is a women's studies minor here? Anybody? Because I have to admit, my knowledge in gender and sexuality does not go beyond my intro textbooks. It's not my area. So, if you have taken something from another class, you can use concepts in another class, more advanced concepts. In your presentation, we will talk about your presentation in a day or two. And I don't know if the categories increase over time. I go by the book due to my limited knowledge. And I go by this definition. And like many societies, even to this day, even though people are more accepting of gay culture, bisexuality, transgenderism, and so on, Most societies are still a heteronormative society. What's that? It assumes that sexual orientation are determined at birth. Our biological physical characteristics determines who we are attracted to, what kind of sex we are attracted to. And this assumption could be wrong, as many people realize. I'm sure you notice. Okay. When you fill out a form, what sex do you fill out? Or do you get to fill out your sexual orientation? Or you can only check between male and female? When you fill out a form, what did you check? Did you get to select one of these sexual orientation? Or you don't have a choice, you can only check male or female. You can not check whether you're gay, lesbian, or something different, bisexual. If you don't have any options besides male or female, is a manifestation of heterosexism. Heterosexism is an assumption that everybody in that society are heterosexuals. We see that a lot when we are filling out a forms. But sometimes in certain social science survey, things quote unquote improve. They also include sexual orientation or sexuality as different survey questions. And whenever we are driving, sometimes we play music from the radio or whatnot. The songs we hear, even love songs, do they pertain more to heterosexual couples or heterosexual individuals? Or some songs are cater more to gays, lesbian, bisexuals, homosexuals? Go figure. When you drive, the music you listen in your car, the music we listen on a daily basis, whether they are love songs or not, do they cater more to heterosexual individuals, or they also meet the needs of bisexual people, gay people, and so on? And
I think most of them would probably cater towards heteronormity, but then again, some of them are ambiguous. They don't mention gender or sexual orientation in the song, so it can be constituted either way. But probably the majority would be heteronormative because, I mean, that's like just the majority in society. I I think the statistics, I think roughly 90% of the population is quote unquote straight, and then about 10% is falls in the LGBTQ category.
if that is the case, this concept, heterosexism, is portrayed in many of our songs and movies. We know that Elton John is gay, right? Has anybody heard of Elton John? Or it's not your time, you're too young. I heard that Elton John is gay or was gay.
For real.
Okay, for real. But did you pay attention to the lyrics of his song? Are they catered only to gay people, lesbians, and whatnot?
No, they're kind of for everyone. They're kind
Okay.
of music for the
That's
masses.
It's like messaged, but like direct.
So, even though some artists, aside from Elton John, could be gay or trans or bi or whatnot, but heterosexism is portrayed in their musical production. Maybe they have to make a living, I don't know. They had to meet the demands of society. Do you understand this term, heterosexism? Is the assumption that everybody are heterosexuals in any society, which is not true. It's manifested in our fashion, music, art, songs, when we fill a form in many aspects of our life. Can you see that? So, what is homophobia? It's an irrational fear towards homosexuals. People refuse to sell wedding cakes to homosexuals. It's an example of homophobia. If people feel that their roommates may hit on them, another manifestation of homophobia. People, if they think that they shake hands with homosexuals or bisexuals or trans, they are going to get AIDS. Another manifestation of homophobia. If people are being irrational and they are afraid that if a gay cut their hair, wash their hair in a salon, they are going to get AIDS. Again, homophobia. Can you see that? Any comments? Question? And sometimes we know, even to this day, so sad. Trans, bisexuals, homosexuals are still being bullied in school, right? It could be a manifestation of homophobia. There used to be certain laws, I think things changed, that prevent gays, trans, or bis from enlisting in the army. Hundreds of years ago, even decades ago. Now things change. It could be a manifestation of homophobia. Can you see that? Okay. What are gender roles? Is society's concept or expectations of how men and women should behave. Gender roles are essentially the behavioral expectations of men and women. Gender roles ties more into a person's sex than gender. Can you see that? Now things are changing. But when it comes to certain instances like opera, gender roles applies to a person's gender. To play the female role, the guy got to understand how women think, behave, and whatnot. Okay. I don't know if you noticed that people used to call Marissa Mayer a bitch, right? When she was the CEO of Yahoo, people don't like what she did. They think she's too assertive or aggressive. Some call her a bitch. And part of that reason is because of the gender roles. Even in American society, women are still expected to behave in a certain way. And nowadays, we have female presidents in many countries, right? In Korea, it used to be. Now she's in prison for corruption. And we have a female VP. You, not me. I'm not a citizen. You have your first female VP right now. Maybe the gender behavioral expectations of the American society are changing. That's why you have a female VP. Can you see that? And sometimes when a woman, when she's in a leadership position, people attach all kinds of negative labels onto her, like Marissa Mayer. It has something to do with gender roles. Women should not be aggressive, should not be too dominant, and so on and so forth. Should be more nurturing. And they should be subordinated to men in some cultures. That's the gender role expectations of some countries, like Muslim countries. Anybody familiar with the president, the previous female president in South Korea, Park Geun-hye? Anybody heard of her?
I haven't.
You haven't. She went to prison because of corruption. But when she was in charge, forget about corruption right now. Disney, I think it's Disney, made a movie about her. In the movie, it seems that it showed the election, the whole election process, how she made it to presidency. But it seems that if you saw that movie, it looks more like a beauty contest than a presidential election. Maybe Disney, the producers at Disney, they had certain gender roles expectations. Oh, she's a female running for president, so she should be more feminine. And she was portrayed like going for a beauty contest, not running for president. So, in my humble opinion, Disney portrayed certain gender role expectations in that movie.
What movie was that? No.
I don't remember. You can Google it. I will Google it to see if I find it, and I may share it with the class next time.
Cool.
Because I'm recording right now, I don't want to stop sharing. Okay, gender identity is different from gender role. Gender identity is a person's deeply held internal perceptions of his or her gender. Gender role has something to do with behavioral expectations. Gender identity has more to do with a person's mindset. Can you see that? They are different. A person, due to societal expectation, may behave in a certain way, but have a different gender identity. Can you see that? And transgender is one example of gender identity. You can read the definition on your own. And if transgender individual, they did something to their bodies so that it's better aligned with another gender identity, they are called transsexual. If they did reassignment surgery, they did hormone therapy and whatnot, they are being called transsexual. So, in my humble opinion, not all transgender are transsexual. And what is dysphoria? is a medical term, is increasingly recognized as a medical term. Is a condition where people whose gender at birth is contrary to their gender identity. People born into a given sex, but they want to identify as another gender, and they may face certain opposition. Parents may not be happy. They may be bullied in school. They may face discrimination at work. Maybe not so much nowadays, decades ago. So they may develop physical and mental health issues because of that. Because they were born of a given sex, but they want to identify as another gender. And society may not always agree with them. And because of that, they develop a medical condition called dysphoria, gender dysphoria. Okay. Socialization is just the process where we learn how to play the game of life. Or socialization, if you Google this word, is just a process we all have to go through. We all cannot avoid. Where we learn the expectations of life in any society. The expectations of life may vary from society to society, culture to culture, group to group, country to country. Initially, we learn the expectations about life through our parents. And after that, we learn the expectations of life through kids in our neighborhood, teachers, college friends, colleagues. And some learn about expectations of life through religious leaders, if they go to church or synagogue or temple or mosque. So, socialization is just a process where we learn about the expectations of life. And boys and girls, they learn about the expectations of life differently. In America, when a baby girl is born, when we buy gift for the baby girl, we buy something pink, right? The process of socialization begins at birth. All the friends and relatives, they start buying something pink for that baby girl. It seems that the girl is being made obligated to learn the expectations, the gender role expectations of how to conduct herself as a female in that society. You start wearing pink, then you have to play certain toys for girls. You have to play certain games for girls. See, parents are initial agents of socialization. And sometimes they instill certain beliefs, opinions, mindsets in boys and girls in different ways, directly or indirectly. They will say that, oh, boys shouldn't cry. They are instilling the behavioral expectations of being a man to the boy who is yet a man. Boys cannot play dolls. Boys shouldn't play Barbies. And this mindset carry forward to our teenage years. People may be teased if they like embroidery. Their classmates, their neighbors may tease them because it does not align with their gender roles. Behavioral expectations of being a man or woman. Classmates tease them. Other relatives say, no, you should not do embroidery. Oh, you should play combat like your older brother. Oh, women, you should know how to cook. And sometimes in school, guys who are more feminine are being teased because of the process of socialization. This process goes on. Our neighbors, our teachers, our peers, through different cliques in high school, continue to instill the gender roles expectations on us through the process of socialization. Can you see that? That's why gays are still being bullied. Bisexuals, homosexuals are still being taunted in school. Sometimes it's partly, not entirely, due to gender roles expectations that occur through the process of socialization. Can you see that? And sexism, this ideology, is also instilled upon people through the process of socialization. Sexism is the prejudiced belief that one sex is better or more superior than the other. In patriarchal societies, males are believed to be better than women. In matriarchal societies, where mothers, females are in charge, the line passed from grandmas to mothers to daughters from the female line. We call that matriarchal society. Sexism is manifested through belief that women are more superior than men. But even in this concept, sexism, it talks more about the sex than gender. I'm sure you noticed that. And because of that, because of sexism, people practice all kinds of things. They send the guys to school when resources are limited. They practice infanticide. They feed the boys better diets in patriarchal societies. They starve the poor women, poor girls. They practice infanticide to baby girls. They want the guys to leave. All these practices happen in any society because of this ideology we call sexism. And in some societies, we have virgin checking. After or before the woman is about to be married to the male family, to the guy, or during the first night of the wedding, they put a white cloth, or people do things differently in different culture to check whether the lady is a virgin or not. This is another manifestation of sexism. They check the lady's virginity in different ways. It happens in Africa. They do it differently, like how Asians do it. Maybe it happened in some Western cultures too, hundreds of years ago. These are all manifestations of sexism. I think I'm done with this chapter.